Hey guys, Cookie here. So we've got a ton to go over today. The new Warbond trailer has been released. The new Warbond is coming out in a week. There's been a ton of news going around what Helldivers 2 is going to do from here on out when it comes to Warbonds. This Warbond looks a lot different. There's a lot to go over in this video, so I'm going to go ahead and just go through everything that's in this blog and everything that you guys need to know. And then Swanee will join me later on in this video to actually discuss everything and give our opinions on every single piece of what is coming in this next Warbond and all the changes that they're doing and what it means for you, the consumer, playing Helldivers 2 in the future. So let's jump into the blog. Starts out saying, Liberty's greetings, Helldivers. Are you ready to learn all about the new Viper Commandos Warbond? Says, firstly, we have been listening to your feedback as we develop our Warbonds in general. The idea behind each Warbond is to allow our Helldivers to roleplay their favorite soldier fantasies within our universe, but it's important that these are fantasies that actually appeal to our players. Based on player input, we're changing our approach to Warbonds moving forward in a couple of ways. Firstly, we're slowing down the pace at which we release Warbonds to give us a little bit more time to polish these designs before they're released. It says we don't want to rush anything out of the oven before it's fully baked. And then secondly, it says we are changing the arrangement of items in each Warbond to make room for new item types and also higher quality armor and weapons. This will prevent us from simply adding more of everything, which can lead to weapons that feel redundant and uninteresting armor. It's time to focus on quality over quantity. When we started researching items for Viper Commandos, we wanted to be sure we answered our player calls for stronger theming that coordinates across all the items, more emotes, unique armor passives, and more thoughtful designs rather than simply giving more of the same. We can't wait for players to get a hold of our latest edition, so let's dive into what's in store. So now getting into what's actually in the Warbond, it says think jungle, think swamp. Think about a hot, humid trek through an untamed, marshy wilderness to do reconnaissance on some unliberated scum. So under the weapons tab, it says for our primary, we're giving you a new version of the Liberator, the AR-23A Liberator Carbine, but this one has a modified shortened form factor that handles differently from the true classic with a bit higher recoil but faster handling that feels perfect for spraying and praying up close. Also says you can combine carrying that with the new SG-22 Bushwhacker triple barrel sawed-off shotgun with two different firing modes, including one that fires all three barrels at once. And it does go on to make sure we know that, yes, you heard that right, the shotgun is a secondary weapon, meaning you can equip your favorite AR primary or your favorite shotgun primary and keep the Bushwhacker handy for close encounters. Under armor, it says the armors are nothing short of inspired. Catch me in the PH-9 Predator, inspired by a veteran of the Viper Commandos who is said to have held off an entire Terminate brood with nothing but a machine gun, pocket knife, and orbital laser. The headpiece has a beret and it looks devastatingly cool when combined with the mark of the Crimson Fang cape. We also have the PH-202 Twig Snapper for your jungle heavy, which looks awesome with the Executioner's Canopy Cape, although mixing and matching works great for both of these sets. Both armors in this Warbond feature the Peak Physique passive, which improves melee damage and weapon handling. They both also feature bare arms and bulging biceps with a variety of randomized skin tones to keep you sweat-free when diving in the humid atmosphere. Next headline says patterns, boosters, and more. Another exciting addition to this Warbond is new skins for your Hellpods, exosuits, and Pelican 1, inspired by the classic woodland and tiger stripe camouflage patterns. This pushes the customizable fantasy just a little bit further for a really cohesive look for your squad. It says one of my, I think it means, favorite things in Viper Commandos is our new utility item, the throwing knife. Imagine mowing down a crowd of Terminids and running out of ammo with only one bug remaining, no time to reload, so you dive backward and throw a hunting knife into its carapace right before it descends on you. It says there's also a new booster called Experimental Infusion, which gives your stims the added bonus of boosting your movement speed and reducing the damage you take for a short time. It says we've also got capes, player cards, and emotes too. Check out the rest of the items in the Viper Commandos Warbond, and it says it will release on June 13th. Welcome to the jungle, Helldivers. Alright, so now that I've read through everything and you guys know everything that's been released, let's talk about this. I'm going to bring Swanee in to kind of analyze this and give our own thoughts about it. So, Swanee, what's the first thing that jumps out at you after going through all of that news?
Well, I'm just going to say it. I'm going to have a controversial opinion here. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me, but I don't like the fact that they're reducing the amount of weapons we're getting. Like, I like some of the directions that they're taking. Like, I like that they're adding new cosmetics to the ships and to the mechs and stuff. That's cool. But only getting one new primary weapon, and it's a reskin of a weapon we already have, it just feels like we're getting less content. And I know they said they wanted to focus on quality, and they're going to take longer to get us Warbonds. But if they're taking longer, like the big problem that the community had was that the weapons were releasing unbalanced and they were just garbage weapons. And if they're taking longer to pump out these Warbonds and they're giving us less weapons, like where's all their time going towards? Like that's what I'm having a hard time understanding.
Yeah, there's a bit of a disconnect, and there always has been, with like understanding exactly, why it takes them so long to do certain things and why they need so much time just to make things balanced. But you're going to have more testing. So I imagine they're going to be testing the crap out of these new items, and that's why this stuff is coming in slower. I mean, in all fairness, this is what people asked for. So, I mean, I don't really have that big a problem with this. This is what people wanted. And to some extent, it's what we wanted, but not entirely. This isn't exactly what I was hoping would happen, but this is what the community was hoping would happen. So this is kind of what people wanted, and I don't blame Arrowhead for giving people basically exactly what they asked for. I think it's a little disappointing for me. I mean, I like having 3 new weapons, but if this is the only way to make it so that weapons come in, working properly, I don't really have that big a problem with it if this is how it has to be. I don't know necessarily why this is how it has to be, like why they can't release 3 weapons and all this other stuff without them being screwed up, but if this is what they have to do to put weapons into the game that work properly, I understand them doing it this way.
See, that's the part that I'm confused about, though, is like, if they're taking so much longer to release these Warbonds, I thought that all the additional testing was going towards the weapons. Well, now they're removing 2 of the weapons. So I just don't understand where that additional testing's going. Is all their testing going towards the 1 weapon that we're getting? Like, is it just going to be a super balanced 1 weapon?
That's what it sounds like to me. I guess they don't have enough time to tell if these things are good or not. They need a lot more testing, I guess. I don't know how they manage their time at Arrowhead and stuff, but if that's what they need, that's what it sounds like to me. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it. It's just unfortunate that this seems to be what has to happen. Like, it's really nice getting 3 new weapons every month. I don't think anybody disagreed with that. But if the weapons are going to come in and half of them are going to suck, or all of them are going to suck, or one's going to be overpowered, and then it's going to inevitably get nerfed and make everybody mad. If this is what they have to do to not need as much balancing in the game, then I can understand them doing this. Plus, in the situation they're currently in, they are making up for past mistakes still. And I wonder if the Warbonds will go back to normal if they can get everything else in the game balanced. Like right now, if they were taking the whole month just testing for this Warbond, yeah, they definitely should be able to have 3 weapons, but they're still trying to test every other weapon in the game because they're so far behind, or at least that's my assumption as to what's going on. So from that perspective, I could see why they're doing this. Maybe in time, after the game has reached a balanced feel, they can release maybe 3 weapons a month again. Maybe they never will. I don't know, but at least in its current state, I can see them releasing Warbonds this way. It's just a little disappointing, but this is just a situation they're in.
Yeah, because on paper, it looks like they're taking longer. We're getting less content, and they're replacing weapons with cosmetics. Like, I am all for cosmetics for, like, the mech and the ships, and the more cosmetics, the better. I love different ways to customize, but I don't want to replace weapons with different cosmetics. That just, it feels like I'm getting less for my money when I buy a Warbond every month.
Yeah, and I assume, now this is the interesting thing I didn't even think of. Like, the Warbond, I assume, is going to cost just as much as normal. Like, I haven't heard anything like they're going to reduce the price, but you're getting less in each of these Warbonds, and that has to come up in people's mind, is like, why would I pay for this? It's less money, or it's less value. Like, I'm getting less for the same thing I just bought last month for the same price. It's like a weird kind of inflation. Like, if they're not changing the price, which I don't think they are, at least they haven't announced that as far as I'm aware, then yeah, I don't see why people would buy this, at least not as often as before, because you're not getting as much in this Warbond as you got in the last one. You just aren't. I mean, you could compare cosmetics and say that maybe for some people that's just as good as a new weapon. definitely don't feel that way. At least not based on what the cosmetics are that they've given us so far. And otherwise, it's exactly the same as the last Warbond, just minus weapons, minus armor, and the same price.
Yeah, we get one less armor set too. So one less armor set, 2 less weapons, and we're now replacing the grenade with the throwing knife, which the stuff that we are getting, I do like. I do like that we're getting a throwing knife and we're getting those cosmetics, like I said. And I like that we're getting a new perk for the armor set. That's cool to see too. It's just a bit of a weird trade-off. And I think a lot of this is all dependent on how good their balancing changes are. Like if they take their time and they make the weapons balanced and the gameplay's fun, then I'm completely fine with this approach. But we don't know how their balancing updates are going to turn out yet. It's like we're still in uncharted territory.
That is like the be-all end-all. If they do all this stuff, and this applies to the patch that we're supposed to get next week too. If they do all this stuff and it still comes out broken, they're done. They cannot afford to have this stuff not work. I mean, I can be behind all this stuff as long as the game will play a lot better. I'm like, all right, you're going to take a lot longer. You're going to make people wait longer, but it's going to come out fixed and, everything's going to work, right? Because if it doesn't, why would people keep playing this game?
Yeah.
Like, they really need to hit the mark with not only this Warbond, but the next patch and everything else to come after that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the reason I'm so cautious and the reason I have low expectations is because we used to cover Star Wars Battlefront 2 on this channel, and they did a very similar approach where they're like, we're going to take our time with these updates, and we want them to be polished, and they took months between their big updates. And then the big update would come, and there would be more bugs and glitches than there ever was. So, like...
We got PTSD.
Yeah, a little bit. So, yeah, the developers are like, yeah, we need to take our time. We're going to have all these balancing changes, and it's going to be a good update. And then the update would come, and it would break everything. And then we'd have to wait another month before we got fixes for the previous update. So, I mean, I know this is a different studio. It's just, yeah, we got a little bit of PTSD covering video games in the past. We haven't seen Arrowhead's patch yet. I mean, they could fix everything. There could be a ton of balancing changes. I mean, they're doing a complete leadership change. So, I mean, I'm going to have faith in them until they give me a reason not to, but I'm just a little cautious is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I still think the fact that people are paying the same amount and getting less, I don't know how that's going to go over with people. It's almost the essential, like if McDonald's had a meal and then they took out the fries and the drink, but the burger's going to be really good now, but it still costs the same. Would you buy it? I mean, like, I think that's a weird way to do it, because unless they're going to shock us all and drop the price, you're going to get less content for the same price. I don't know how that's going to go over, but we'll say that's a bold move in a lot of ways. As far as the new patterns are concerned, I don't care a lot about this right now, and I love customization, but like except for the exosuit, I don't care at all that the Hellpod has a different skin. That's a very weird thing in my personal opinion to give customization to, and I don't care about the Pelican either. I've never looked at the Pelican outside of when it's actually like on the ground for that second of extraction. That's the only thing I've ever cared about seeing the Pelican. So neither of those things really matter to me. The exosuit's kind of cool. So it's odd that that's where the customization is going.
Like the Hellpods you only see for a couple seconds as you're falling down from the...
I don't think I've ever seen the only time I've ever seen the Hellpod is when the game glitches, because otherwise it goes through the ground. Like I don't even see it. I mean, I guess... will it be on drops and stuff? Like when you drop in like a rocket launcher, is the Hellpod going to have that skin on it? Because that might be kind of cool. If that's what it
like every
means.
time you call in a support weapon, that if those are changed, that would be something.
That'd be something, but that's also not that interesting to me. Like I didn't want customization on those things. So I don't care about this customization yet. It just makes me happy to see them doing customization, and maybe in the future it'll be cool. But that doesn't do much for me in this specific Warbond.
No, it's a step in the right direction. Like when I originally heard customization, I thought they meant like different scopes, different attachments, different those kind of things.
Yeah, I don't know if I want them to go there, because it's going to be... I don't want this game to go full Call of Duty where you have like 75 different attachments for each gun. I think that could be a little extreme. And that sort of worries me as far as that customization. But if you wanted to put skins on your guns, I think that would be cool. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't take that route or something. I don't know. That part doesn't really interest me that much. And then the throwing knife in place of a grenade doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because I can't see how a throwing knife's going to be worth a grenade slot. Like, it can only kill one thing at a time, so it would have to do a lot of damage to be better than a grenade.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering about that too, because like if you're giving up a grenade and you have a throwing knife, how are you supposed to blow up bug holes in factories? I highly doubt
throwing knife does, because that would be hilarious.
It's a very strong throwing knife.
You just throw a knife at a factory and it blows up the whole factory.
That's what I'm confused about. Plus, you have to be extremely accurate with it. So I feel like it's a weird trade-off. It's like you could get 10 kills with a grenade or 1 kill with a throwing knife if you're facing like the Terminids, for example. I feel like a throwing knife is going to be better against the automatons, because if there's accuracy involved and you can like hit them in the face and, you know, kill a Devastator in one shot, that might be cool. Or if you can throw a Hulk and hit it in the eye and it would do a ton of damage. So I feel like it would have to do a ton of concentrated like weak point critical damage, but then I don't see how that would be useful against the Terminids, because they have thick armor and there's like 20 of them at one time on screen. So I don't know.
I think for the throwing knife to be as good as a grenade, it's not going to make any sense. It would have to almost kill a charger or something wild for it to be worth it, because it's only going to hit one target, so it'd have to be a ton of damage, and it's not going to make any sense if a throwing knife kills a charger. Like, it would just bounce off. But maybe if you're very accurate with it, I don't know how this throwing knife's gonna work, but I find it weird that it's going to replace a grenade. And that's, at least based on what I'm reading here, that's what I assume it's going to do. Now, if it's in addition to a grenade, that would be really cool if they're going to add a whole nother slot. But I don't get that impression from what I read. So, yeah, we'll see. But, yeah, throwing knife, I think, is a really cool idea and could be really cool on the battlefield and fits the Helldivers mentality. But I wouldn't want to replace a grenade with that.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, using that with the new armor set and the new boosters, I mean, that booster increases your movement speed and reduces the damage you take, and the new armor set improves your melee damage and weapon handling, so maybe that is designed specifically around the throwing knife. I don't know, but I mean, we could be completely wrong. Maybe the throwing knife is just one of the best weapons there is. I just hope that if we have like throwing knives and stuff, that they're going to play around with melee. So like maybe if you have the throwing knife in your hand, you can then stab things with it. That would be neat.
Yeah. I will say that, like, what they're doing with the armors, I'm more in favor of. Like, I'm more in favor of the idea of them having one less armor, but the armors actually have new passives. Like, I really like the idea that there's a new passive, because we've had the same armor passives forever. So, having a new passive, I think that's a big boost to this Warbond. However, I think this passive is one that I personally probably won't like very much. I mean, melee damage, I almost never melee ever. I don't know if they're going to start introducing things that make people want to melee, like we talked about with melee weapons at some point, but I don't almost ever melee. And, like, yeah, so I don't know if I like the passive itself, but I do like the idea of them adding in new armor passives, even if we lose an armor in the process. That might be worth it for me. And I think the two new armors are really cool. I really like the, you know, featuring the bare arms and stuff, the sleeveless design. I do kind of like that. So I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I like the design too. And I saw good points brought up in the community about the lack of weapons, because I saw some people say that if they keep releasing 3 weapons, like 3 primaries, then we're going to get just oversaturated with weapons, and then it's going to be even harder for them to balance things. So I'm fine if they only have 1 primary weapon, but they really need to go back and make sure they get the balancing just fine-tuned. Like, if they go back and make all the previous weapons really good, and we can, like, use more weapons in different loadouts, then I'm fine if they only have 1 weapon at a time. But like I said, it really comes down to how they do their balancing. If they release this new weapon and it sucks and just nobody likes it, then I think a lot of people are going to be pissed off that we only got 1 primary weapon and it's garbage.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it really comes down to they better get this right then. It's like, you know, because otherwise there's no trade-off. We're just getting less content. Or there's not a trade-off for getting better stuff. It's just less content. So, yeah, they need to get this right. One of my favorite things about the Warbond, oddly enough, is the new emote. Because we've been begging for new emotes. And we got one. And it's a cool emote. It's the Predator handshake. It's pretty epic. I really like. So that's going to be a lot of fun to just screw around on the battlefield, giving each other the Predator handshake.
Yeah, I mean, I like the theme too. I mean, it's cool. I mean, I'm still excited for this Warbond. I just hope that they really knock it out of the park, and I want the weapon to feel fun as hell. I really like the look of the shotgun.
The
secondary
shotgun is a neat idea too. Like, that could really work out.
Yeah, that's the first secondary shotgun that we've gotten so far, so that could be really handy.
Yeah, I mean, so it does have a lot of good things going for it. It's just, it's just odd to me to take stuff away and keep the same price. I don't know how that's going to go over with people, but we'll find out. People, for the most part, from what I've read, seem to be happy that this is happening. And to Arrowhead's credit, they're listening to their audience. This is what most people asked for. They wanted things to come out well. They wanted more quality over quantity. That's what they'll get. We'll see if it affects anything. Like, it would be ironic if they do all this and the sales go down. We'll see how that goes. It'll be very interesting to see how the community overall responds to it. We don't have a lot of responses yet, but yeah, we'll see what happens here.
So next week should be a pretty big week. We're getting the update that should have some balancing changes, so we'll probably get some weapon changes in that, and we're getting this new Warbond with a couple new weapons and that new throwing knife, so there should be a lot of things to test next week, so it'll be nice to finally get an update for the game. I know me and you haven't been playing it as much because it's gotten a little stale, so I'm just excited that we're getting anything new at this point, because I want to go back and play this game because I love Helldivers, but it kind of bothered me that we had to put it on the shelf for a little bit because I really like this and I want this game to succeed, and I'm really rooting for it because I love this game, and there hasn't been a game that I felt this passionate about in a long time, so I'm really rooting for them.
Yeah, and this game is also in a semi-broken state, too. It's still got a lot of crashing problems and stuff, so I hope some of that also gets resolved in this new patch. So a lot's riding on this patch that isn't supposed to be as big as everybody wants it to be, so I don't know. I don't know if there should be this much riding on this patch, but I kind of feel like there's a lot riding on it right now.
But that's going to do it for everything in today's video. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 videos. If you made it this far in the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. It helps us out in the algorithm and it's greatly appreciated. And that is going to do it for us, and we will talk to you guys next time. So, bye-bye.